Okay, that's fine.
Is Dave on the phone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, Tom. I'm on
Sure,
the.
we're not actually in the meeting yet, eh? Or
Well,
we just...
I think the pre-meeting is rolling, but we're just waiting for people to join, eh?
Okay, well, that pre-meeting is what I was interested in. The map that's included in the information for this application in the Pend Oreille Canyon is kind of confusing. Is it? How far up the river is it from 7 Mile, or is it between 7 Mile and Juanita?
Well, like Ron Thompson is here with us tonight, so maybe he can describe exactly where that is. Tom, my understanding is it's right adjacent to the 7 Mile Dam on the south side of the Pend Oreille River.
Yeah, it's across the river from the road, eh?
Correct.
As I can see, it's across the river from any access. I don't know how well. We can talk to him, I guess. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have any information about that application to, I don't know, some kind of an urban development at the bottom of Whitewater Ski Hill Road? Like, it's not on tonight's agenda, but guess it'll be on next.
Go
You
ahead,
know
Laura.
what, Tom? I can get you information for that one. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. But anyways, I can get Zach to contact you about that one. He's the planner that was working on it.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, I read some stuff that came from you guys about it, but I'm just a little confused about where the hell there's any flat land that they can put, a couple of hundred small lots on.
Okay, I'll figure out which one I'll email you about that after the meeting, just so that we stay on the ones that are on the agenda, and then.
Okay. Yeah. Good. And I can, next time I'm in town, I can probably just drop into the regional district office and talk to somebody in planning.
Okay, because there are a few in that area, and right now.
Yeah, there's one across the road that we've already dealt with. There's one across the road, and then there's the resort there's the sort of that resort sort of deal that they want, but there's also a guy who owns some land that the cross country ski people use. He wants to build a house. Now that those two, I know where they are, and I don't think we as a commission we had any objection to either of them, really.
You know what? I think
anyway.
Just because we have the applicant here and it is 7, so maybe I'll just hand it over to you, Dave, if you want to do start the introductions.
Yeah, is everybody here? Like, we've got a quorum, right?
Yeah, we have
Carla here.
She couldn't make it. She sent an email. She had a last minute meeting about.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but 3 is fine for quorum, so that's
okay.
We can go ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:01, and I would like to acknowledge that we live and respect the Indigenous people within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated.
So moved.
So moved.
Second, yeah.
Second to Lori. All in favor?
All three of us.
All three of us carried. Okay. Moving right along here. We've got the minutes from the previous meeting. Did everybody get a copy of those along with the agenda?
Yeah, I move we accept the meetings of the previous meeting, whatever they.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I read through them, and that accurately reflects, the content of our last meeting. So we're good on that. So the next item on the agenda is staff reports. an application from the Pend Oreille. A zoning bylaw amendment application. So, do we have Ron Thompson on board here?
Oh, Ron, you're muted, Ron.
Excuse me.
Oh, there we go.
I'm here.
There we go.
Can you just introduce that package? That you could just read it out from the agenda. Can you see it there? Just the referral package dated.
Yeah, I can't see it on the screen, Laura.
Okay.
I can read it if you want.
Sure, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, okay, so it's the zoning bylaw amendment application for the Pend Oreille area. The referral package dated April 29th from Stephanie Johnson, planner, regarding the bylaw amendment application seeking to rezone the 3 properties. Do you need me to read the numbers?
No, that's okay.
Okay, from resource area to resource area site specific has been received. Shall I continue?
Okay. Yeah, you might as well. Well, actually, why don't we just discuss that and get Ron to explain what that is, what they're asking for there.
All right, folks, should I go ahead or?
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah. No, we own quite a few pieces of property out there. These 3 are in the RDCK, and then the company owns, I believe it's 5 more that are in the Kootenay Boundary District. They're all contiguous, came by way of Beaumont Timber a few years back. Some of them are up for resale, and interested buyers would like to be able to put a house on. So we are trying to make that something that's possible for them. Beyond that, that's kind of all we really are looking for, is the ability to build a dwelling on each parcel. And under the current zoning, my understanding is that's not a permitted use. I don't know if there's any questions or any, can elaborate some more on what we thought or why we thought it's a good reason. And really it's, resource type land, and a residence on the land, having someone there present, it protects the land. It's conducive to good management is our belief. And, we just don't really see a reason to prohibit a dwelling there. So that's what we're asking for. Looked at a few other options because, we could have just asked to rezone to, I believe it's R4. But, a lot of the other zones that permit a single family dwelling also permit much more density. And, that's not really something we're after. We don't want to rezone it to something that has a 15 hectare minimum, because we see that as, being something that probably people wouldn't be too happy about anyhow. And, that's not the purpose. It's just to allow a dwelling on parcels that are over 200 acres in size. I believe 2 of them are actually over 400 acres, and the other is 75. So that's kind of what we're after. I don't know any beyond that. There's not too much.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Exactly where is this properties on the river?
It would be south of the river.
Where are they from the dam? There's the 7 Mile Dam. Now, where are they from the 7 Mile Dam? How far up the river or below them?
They're, without having kind of measured it off, I'm guessing a number of kilometers, probably that would be to the south, of course. So you cross the dam and then head back towards Trail, probably a couple of kilometers to the west from the dam.
It's within the reservoir behind the dam, though. It's not. Is it above the reservoir?
Well, you know what? I shouldn't say 100%. I'm not sure. The dam, I would assume is to the other way. No, I mean, what do you folks think? I've got to look. I don't quite remember how it flows there.
Well, it flows from it flows down to Juanita to the Columbia River, where but there's two reservoirs. Juanita is
I believe it's
near
on
the
the one
near the
reservoir.
mouth,
Yeah.
and then you got 7 miles to the hydro to BC Hydro's dam, and then I guess you've got about another 8 miles of reservoir behind that. I'm not sure. I haven't been into that valley since I was a teenager, so I don't.
No.
Is it below the? My concern is have you talked to either BC Hydro or Fortis or Columbia Power to see what they think about? I mean, how are you going to access these places? They're across the river.
They're
river,
accessed as landowners there. You get a key to cross the dam.
You get a key to cross the dam?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it was all owned by Beaumont Timber. I mean, there's frequent logging in there. There's timber operations all through there. There's Crown Timber operations, Forest Service roads. It's
not on that side of the river. Not on the south side of the river. I don't remember ever. The only roads on the south side of the river would come up across from the American side of the border.
No, there's Forest Service roads through there. That's how we access the property. I did some research on just the timber types there, and what the potential in the area was for growing trees, basically. And there's
so tell me this. If I wanted to drive into these places, you imply that there's Forest Service roads going into these properties. Yeah. If I wanted to drive in on these service roads, of course, I'd probably need a 4x4 or a 6x6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Where would I go down to Juanita, where to the border, and then there's a road somewhere?
It's all within good old BC.
Well, but it would have to be
towards the border. Yeah, you cross. I
believe
that's a 7 mile dam. I believe. I don't.
Can I drive a car across the 7 mile dam? Will they?
If you have a key to the gate, yes, you can.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
And
okay, that's my only question. My only question was basically access. I didn't know how you were going to access these properties. I mean, I don't understand why anybody would want to build a house or residence in there unless you were a hermit.
Well, people off-grid type living, people have all kinds of goals in life, and maybe they'll plant some trees and maybe they'll recreate. It's
have to almost be a billy goat to live over there. That's a canyon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at a topographical map, and the lines are like so close together that they're I mean, I don't understand where there's any flat land to. And if you just want to build a cabin, why don't you just go and build a cabin? I'm sure that the regional district inspector won't suddenly arrive on your doorstep and say you have to have a building permit, as long as you're not going to build a 6-bedroom recreational lodge and then rent out the rooms to Airbnb people.
People want to.
I don't understand this at all. I just, to me, I'm flabbergasted. I didn't think anybody would ever want to build a house and live on that side of the river. I mean, it's. Yeah. Anyways, that's not up to me. So
we didn't think there would be 400 acres anywhere that you weren't entitled to build a house on.
Well, it's been zoned for basically for forestry purposes for years now, and so by allowing residential development in there, even if it's in the form of a cabin, it's encouraging that sort of development on that side of the river. And I'm not sure what sort of public facilities like access to hydroelectric power, access to sewer and water, road access, particularly in the winter and stuff. Like, how does that make any sense for someone?
Well, there would be off the grid. It's obviously self-serviced, and any buyer that is going to build and invest out there is going to understand that. Just getting there, you're going to understand that it's what it is.
Yeah.
And
Is there any corporate interest in buying it as forestry land? I mean, it would seem to me that, Beaumont was a forestry company. That's how they made their money. I'm surprised that they would want to, subdivide it and sell it off for residential development.
well, we don't really see it as residential development. If you've got 400 acres where you're going to build one residence, I mean, the residential impact is, minimal. I think it just provides good stewardship for the land. And in fact, when that property was with Beaumont Timber, when it was previously managed forest land as a permitted use has a residence. We just don't happen to be in that assessment class, but it's not a deterrent to resource use, I don't think. And it's also, I don't believe it's a footstep to some kind of massive development. That's why we're trying to avoid something like that R4 zoning, where all of a sudden you'd have a zone that said a 15 hectare parcel was permissible. I mean, that's not the goal at all. We just want basic permission to build a cabin or a residence.
Has there been any thought put into the impact that it could have on wildlife in that area? Like right across the border in Washington State is the Colville National Forest.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering if there's any movement of wildlife back and forth into that area.
There very well may be. I don't see that our proposal would really have much of an impact on it.
And so just to be clear then, this is specific to these two properties and it
Three,
would,
yes.
three rather, yeah.
Yeah.
And it would just be for a cabin type residence, one on each property.
That's right. Yeah.
And then this wouldn't necessarily set some precedent that some, like you sort of indicated, it's not like some big development is sort of in the works. And if that
No.
was the direction, then it would be a different amendment. Like it would need to go to something separate from the resource site specific to something else that would require a 15 hectare piece.
Yes,
Am I understanding
exactly.
that correctly?
Yeah, because under the current zoning, it's still actually quite a small minimum lot size, I believe. I don't remember just offhand, but it's certainly more than 15 hectares. But I believe it's 60 hectares or something, what the current minimum lot size is. But we're not asking to change or increase density other than, I guess, if you call having one residence or one dwelling per title increasing density. I mean, that's kind of, it's just sort of a basic land use, you would hope. And I don't know, but yeah, no, we don't see any kind of development. This change wouldn't allow that. You would need to, rezone or ask for another,
Yeah,
you'd
okay.
have to do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess by doing this, though, it moves it into a separate class, sort of or a separate zone of land that forest companies might not necessarily be interested in buying, or because of the fact that it is in its 3 blocks rather than one.
I don't think so. We look at forest land all the time, and forest land's really about the trees, not too much else. Like I say, if you're in managed forest class, that's a permitted use, is to have a residence. I work with foresters and off and on, and they kind of see it as it's a plus. I mean, you plant your trees, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's specifically a forest. It's just a resource zone. And I think the OCP is saying it should be innovative. And I believe that having, someone there to steward the land and, report forest fires and keep an eye on their land and make improvements and, take advantage of the resource rather than just kind of just throw it, all in one big industrial type base.
I just wanted to add just a couple things talking to the planner this morning, Stephanie. So
Yeah.
she was saying that site-specific zone, the details of it haven't been crafted yet, and she would wait for the input that comes from this referral process before the specifics are totally set out. So, anyways, it's until she hears back from the referral input, the fine details of that site-specific zone have not been, like written down in detail. So anyways, I just asked her that out of my own curiosity. So that was just coming from Stephanie. And I just wanted to say too that RA zone, I was just reading the objectives of that in the OCP of the resource areas to retain and diversify resource land based uses. So and so it would have to be within the confines of the objectives of the OCP. So anyways, I don't know if that helps, but
I just had one more question about water. Are there like creeks or potable water sources for that type of development in that area?
There's a number of creeks that run down into the reservoir, I guess, that run, kind of downhill. So it would be possible to apply for a water license for usage, or alternately just a well, which is pretty common in the type of stuff we get involved in.
And when you talk about who are we talking about?
I'm working as an agent for Nelson Land Corp, who owns a number of properties throughout the province. And I also work as an agent for another company that does the same thing. So, I get involved in quite a few of these.
Right. Well, one of the
different ways, they're all different, but
one of the things that's been happening in our area and in our region here is that logging has taken place on private land, and then subdivisions have subsequently occurred, and packages has been sold off, in smaller, like for domestic, housing or whatever for people to live, and it seems like that's an ongoing trend in the logging industry is to buy private land, log it off, subdivide it, and resell it. What's different about this project?
Well, I would say what's different about it is that there's no in this application, there's no what would you call it, fracturing of the land or subdivision of the land. The parcels are remaining as they are. I mean, the only real change is on the 400 acres, you're going to be allowed to have a residence. That's all that we're asking.
Can I ask you a question? One more question, please.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Nelson Land Company. Is this the same Nelson Land Company that clear cut the mountainside on the side of Cottonwood Creek, just outside of Nelson, the south side? Wasn't that Nelson Land Company?
They own some property up there and by Whitewater Ski Hill.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't, but I mean, I hear what's going on here, but this doesn't allow that. It doesn't make it so if those guys wanted to go in there and clear cut it and do what they're going to do, it's not because that they're going to be able to have this amendment to a site specific area. Is that correct?
To
Does
me,
that make
that's
sense, my
correct.
question?
Absolutely.
Anybody else? What do you guys, Tom and Dave, do you know what I'm saying here?
I kind of missed that, Lori. My internet's a little glitchy tonight.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it sounds like, okay, so then we're just like, okay, so these guys are potentially those same guys that, you know, kind of the company that's gone in and sort of clear cut and done a few areas in the area, but that's that's irrelevant in a way. What we're talking about isn't going to mitigate against that or encourage it, right? That might just be something that's, you know, in the process of, you know, their business. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, what's happened up there? Apparently, I took a look at the property on Google Earth, and it's been mostly logged off. It's going to be 100 years before trees grow back there to get to a commercial state. And like I say, you know, if we keep taking land out of the forest base, we're going to end up with a shortage of trees and forests for the future, and a shortage of habitat, and that fosters, you know, biodiversity and places for animals to graze and stuff like that. So, like humans have a tendency to have an impact on wild spaces, and that's my concern, is that this will just increase the conflict between humans and the environment at a time when, you know, climate change and water and we were facing species extinctions in an extreme way. So I'm just not. I'm just feeling a little bit uneasy about the loss of forest land. You know, to for this now. I understand that some people will just build a cabin there and they will be responsible for stewarding the trees and all the rest of it. But not everybody's inclined that way. And quite often, what happens is we get another rezoning application that comes in and says, "Well, we got a chance to build a house or, you know, a cabin on this place. Now we need to do a few more because we want to do something else." So, well, how do we say no to that?
Well, I don't know, but I think you take one thing at a time. And quite frankly, the zoning hasn't been defined yet, or as Laura pointed out. I mean, it can be designated as up to 1 acre is used as a footprint for a home or something. And on a 400-acre parcel of land, I just don't really see how that's a valid argument that you're eroding the forest base. I'm sorry. It's
It's just not the thin edge of the wedge, is what you're saying.
I don't think so. It's certainly not what we're asking for. And I just don't see the harm personally, but that's
Is
not
it?
my job.
I just had one more question. What does it do? Like you said, you've got buyers that are more interested in, you know, off-grid properties that are more merchantable because you could sell them, you know, in pieces rather than the full chunk. And does it increase the value of the property then? Is that the whole purpose of the rezoning exercise?
Well, we're not applying to rezone. We're applying to have a residence allowed. We're not doing some kind of major development. And yes, I mean, if you were looking at buying 400 acres that you weren't allowed to even go enjoy, well, it probably wouldn't be worth too much to you. If you could put a house on it, yeah, it'd be worth something. Um, and if you want to buy the one next door and you want your cousins from wherever to come and visit and be able to have a place on that piece, well, that's great. And if while you're there you decide that you like trees and you're going to try and start managing it as a forest, well, there you go. I mean, you're not opening it up for some kind of I don't know, whatever,
Right.
a dramatic type subdivision. It's allowing one residence.
So, are there any more questions? So, do we do we want to pass a motion either in support or not for this particular proposal?
This is Tom Nixon. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. I move we do not support any change in the area on that other side of the river, of the Pend Oreille River, the south. I guess it's the south side, isn't it?
Yes.
I move we do not support any change in the current land use plan for that area.
Do we have a seconder for that? Lori, you going to second that or not?
Yeah,
No?
I mean, I'm not sure. You know, like I don't see necessarily the issue with not supporting it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
My feeling is that land was, for the last God knows how many years, as long as I've been alive, didn't need to be stewarded by somebody living on it. It's been sitting there, and it's a canyon. It's not suitable for growing grain or even cannabis. I don't think it's too steep. I think this is just a matter of a landowner
if it's not suitable for anything, I wonder why.
Buying
it's
some
a problem.
Some cheap land and then getting it rezoned so that they can sell it as some sort of a wilderness resident thing. You know, I think they're just trying to increase the value of the land so they can log it off to somebody who wants to, you know, build a nice resort cabin up there where you can go and look across the valley. I don't know what there is to see there, but there's all kinds of people live in this world. I can't support this. I oppose it entirely, unequivocally.
Okay, Laura, you had something to say? Laura, sorry, Tom, just a sec. Laura, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Stephanie Johnson, the planner, also did mention that, you know, the details of sometimes there's covenants put in place to restrict further subdivision on properties, and the minimum lot area has not yet been determined. So you can always consider things like that, other options. So just thinking about things that planners might use to restrict further development. There are tools that planners use. And Stephanie had mentioned that, you know, covenants to restrict subdivision or minimum lot areas. And I'm not sure the minimum lot area. And Stephanie, you know, those are things that they figure out with the feedback. But I just wanted to mention that because, yeah.
So then it potentially, you're suggesting that maybe that could be something that we support with the caveat that there's, you know, sort of a minimum around lot size or the covenants or whatever it is that the language you're using, but that we could, you know, somehow make it clear that our suggestion is that we would want it to just be a small cabin or house that wasn't going to expand into anything other than that. Because I mean, in a way, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Tom, like why mess with it? But I mean, it's also like, you know, I don't see there being too much problem with this either, unless I'm being naive and, you know, just opening the door to some, you know, crazy devastation. But that's not what it sounds like to me.
Okay, so well, we don't have a seconder for the motion, but I'm not sure what we could do. Maybe we could table it or something for the next meeting and get some more information from the planning department on what you know, those caveats might look like or whatever, you know, before we actually move on it. What's the feeling about that? is everybody in favor of tabling this until the next meeting and when we can gather more information about what that might look like?
Laura, is your hand still up? Did you have something else to
Yeah, Laura.
add to that?
Oh, sorry, I just need to.
Okay.
Is your
I mean,
hand up?
I mean, I'm, you know, I can get behind that, Dave, if there would be more information coming that might help us, you know, make a decision, or maybe have other folks that aren't here right now weigh in on it.
Right.
You know what?
Okay.
I'm just concerned because the referral. I mean, just concerned that it couldn't go to a next APHC meeting because I think the referral end date. Let me look at the package. Is what day is it? So that might not be an option. Let me look at the referral package. Prior to May 29th. So if you could schedule an additional meeting, but Stephanie requests the comments by May 29th.
Well, you know, as a chair, you know, like Lori's opposed to it or in favor of it. I mean, and Tom is opposed to it, and I'm not thrilled with it, quite frankly. But I'm not sure what I do with this at this point in time. I mean, unless I vote on it, but I mean, nobody's really seconded it. I don't know if I can second it or not. I mean, and we vote on it. I don't feel comfortable with just the two of us sort of making a decision on this. I'd like some comments from Carla and maybe even Hans Cunningham as well. So
You got yourself a problem, Dave, because I'm opposed to table. So a motion to table it, I'll vote no, and I'll vote no to the commission supporting it. So
okay, so
you're in a conundrum, Dave.
Well,
you're gonna have to decide, Dave, as the chairman.
Okay.
You do have.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go along with you, Tom. I'm not in favor of it because I've seen too much of this stuff go on. As a matter of fact, in our own neighborhood, where we've had loggers buy up land, subdivide it, make a bundle of money on the logs, and then make a bundle of money on the real estate, and then screw up our water afterwards. So the whole notion of that is to me is
look. Let's be realistic. Just because we oppose it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean
that's true.
That the regional district board will oppose it.
Well, that's right. That's right. This can go to the board. They can make a decision.
Tell them we don't like it, and they can ignore us. So
yes, I'm willing to go that route.
I'm quite willing to be the bad guy.
Okay. Well, appreciate that, Tom. So the second part of that motion then was that Area G Planning and Heritage Commission not support bylaw amendment referral package for the properties located in the Pend Oreille area, electoral area G, legally described as those lots. And so we're going to vote on that. So all in favor of not supporting this. So that would be me, Tom.
You got my vote.
Yeah, okay. So Lori's we're gonna abstain from that or vote against it, whatever. Yeah, vote against it. And so that's what we'll send to the regional board then. And we'll let them figure it out.
Okay, so to get my minutes clear, so Tom and Dave are voting not support?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 to 1, I guess.
2 to 1, yeah.
So this would be the comment. And I mean, your comments this is to go to the board, and the comments are briefly summarized. So they'll see the comments too from Lori and both members.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you bet. Moving right along here. Public time. So we've got a member of the public here tonight who wants to have some comments or input into our discussions. Is there someone else here, Lori or Laura?
Yes, the RDCK resident said all good, no questions.
Okay. Okay, great. And well, then let's set the date for the next meeting, which would be June the 26th at 7 p.m.
And does that work for everyone?
It does for me.
A Wednesday.
Last Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's establish that as the date then, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Yep, seconded.
Carried. See everybody next month.
Sounds good.
Thank you, people.
Thank you.
Yeah.